formally. Oh, to a fire! Now then! Oh, just look at this! Mercer has no chance! Here is the perfect athlete in motion! Mr. Showman himself.
The style of the way you played just had a natural sense of theatre. 42 tries in your first season, which is just astounding, and then rewarded with a man of steel.
One man has filled the bill this season in great style. Debutant try scorer, sensational, Martin Offiah.
Is it something now you look back at and you're like, wow?
I do go, wow, but then I also go, it teaches you about life. It's like, that wasn't even my best season.
It's hard to imagine that this time last year he was playing for Roslyn Park in London. Now he's preparing to tour Australia as a rugby league British Lion, after one of the most spectacular opening seasons the game has known.
I felt that my second season was far better. Scored arguably one of the greatest tries I've scored for Widnes against Wigan.
Now, what can Offiah do this time? Down the middle he goes. Can they stop Offiah? Martin Offiah is going to score here and let the fullback Hampson can get it. Hampson's hat-trick! What a super try! The whole of Widnes goes absolutely potty.
Widnes fans always remind me of that, because obviously everyone knows me as a Wigan player, but if I ever bump into a Widnes fan, they'll say, you know, the best try you ever scored was for Widnes against Wigan.
It was a try that had everything. Sidesteps, handoffs, awareness, determination, elusiveness, blistering pace, of course, and bravado, summed up in one word: class. Little wonder that minutes later, when the championship had been clinched, Widnes's worshippers cheered their newest god from the field. It was a day of personal triumph and collective success, a day of never-to-be-forgotten celebration.
Because you had that incredible year, of course, selection, you go on this Lions tour, the Ashes series in '88. You'd already been told about this guy called Wally Lewis. What was your first impressions of that tour?
I know that England invented the sport of rugby league, but we all know going to play in Australia is the biggest test.
It might not be over! That is good night under the post! We are going to have a dramatic 4.5 minutes left in the series!
That was one of my first things I wanted to do, was to play in Australia and have an Aussie commentator like Graham Hughes call the game. And even today, my favourite commentary has got to be when I played for St George in '91, when Graham Hughes called me a freak.
Walford's on the inside of Coyne. He goes out to Offiah. Was he behind him? Yes, says Annesley. He's a freak. This freak from Widnes.
Even to this day, it gets me. When I go and watch that, when he says, this freak all the way from Widnes, I was just like, you know, forget the money, forget everything, you know, because when you're dead and gone, your legacy is all that's going to be left.
The reception here will be enormous. Heroes at Wembley, they will become something of godlike if they can win the Ashes at Old Trafford.
Now, there's one game against Australia that still haunts you. It's the 1990 second test at Old Trafford.
I was telling Mal the story about how he fell on my knee.
As we see an injury to Offiah in a terrible lot of pain.
And a guy called Carl Gibson went on the wing, and then Ricky makes that break and they score that try, and I'm watching this on the treatment bed in the changing room at Old Trafford, thinking if only I was out there, we would have won the Ashes.
Because the Aussies remember that passage very differently. It was like the series was on the line, and then Ricky finds Mal, and it becomes this famous try.
I know.
But you're in the injury room.
I'm in the injury room watching it on the TV, thinking we've won the Ashes, because I'm thinking that was the thing. I'm thinking we've won the Ashes, and as you can remember, they go down the right-hand side, which is the left wing, which is my position.
Yes.
And I'm thinking, if I'm on there, there's no way they're getting all the way back without me intercepting that.
I'm now replaying that passage and imagining you swooping on an intercept, and it completely changes the narrative.
But there's no way Ricky Stuart's going to get back there. People say, let it go, you've scored 501 tries, but you still think of
you think about that one.
You think about the times that they got away.
One of the most famous tries in Test match football. There's Ricky Stuart. There's Meninga's shoulder work that came in.
In '88, a very Aussie pastime.
Yeah.
We have a match race.
Yeah.
This is work out who's the fastest man in rugby league. So you've got John Chicka Ferguson, Dale Shearer at Wentworth Park, which is a greyhound. It still
Greyhound
is
track.
used for a greyhound track.
Yeah. But no, you're the first Australian that's ever talked to me about that race.
Tell me.
No one ever mentions that race because
Because of the other one. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, I always say to people, hey, you know, I beat Dale Shearer, and they're like, no, I didn't know that. Never heard of that. No.
Then the famous one, which everyone probably remembers,
Yeah.
in '92, the fastest man in rugby league.
Yeah.
This time it's against
Odin Ryan.
Odin Ryan came out the better of the two. He leads 2 metres past the 25 and still in front of metre at the halfway. Ofia struggling to get to him. Odin Ryan, he's going to create a ball over.
Now, you have a very different account. Lee has his own account of what happened. So how did it go down in your mind?
Yeah, in my eyes, you know, he got the jump on me. And then as I was trying to come back at him, I think it was, because there was no lanes, you know what I mean? So it was just like a free-for-all. So I think he smartly, you know, tried to come across me. But I just said that I lost that race fair and square. And, you know, there was lots of talk about I blew the race because...
Because your teammates jumped on Lee?
Yeah.
Right.
But if they did, they didn't tell me about it.
Today, the Sydney Football Stadium has a touch of the old country about it. 4 of Britain's finest line up for their Sydney clubs in a game that could be the turning point for the Winfield Cup battlers' western suburbs and their more affluent but greatly disappointing rivals from easts. Do the Englishmen hold the 89 fortunes for both clubs in the palms of their hands? And what of Martin Offiah? We know he can run. We've seen him score a swag of tries. But the biggest question, will he do this in front of a Sydney crowd?
1989 delivers an opportunity for you to come to Australia and take up a contract with Eastern Suburbs. What was your impression of living this Aussie life?
Nick Politis, I think it was, yeah. He's got me out there and famously wore my white boots, which someone told me sort of after was a bit of a no-no. Is it because of someone like Langlands or something? It's meant to be bad luck or something. But I wore white boots and scored with my first touch.
Well, here's a chance for him. He's got a try in his first game. He's picked up over 100 in 2 seasons. Hallelujah, says Offiah. First real touch from open play.
And we beat West in my first game at Sydney Football Stadium. I went to play, again back in Australia, went to play for St George with Brian Smith.
With 4 losses on the trot, the Dragons are banking on Martin Offiah, a clubmate of Jonathan Davies at Widnes.
The game over here is definitely, you know, as I see it, you know, very precise. Players go out there with, you know, precise jobs to do. Well, I think that English football maybe, you know, not as intense, but a little bit more creative.
Which was a bit of a strange one because I thought I was going back to East because I had such a good time there, but then I'd agreed a contract and for some reason, even to this day, I don't know why, but they ripped up my contract. So I'd agreed a contract to go back to East, and then they ripped it up. Brian Smith said, come play for St George.
Martin Offiah, speed machine, has already picked up 5 tries for the St George side since linking up with the famous red and white.
Brian Smith, who was, before that, was the whole coach and used to do the colour commentary for ITV and always used to give me a hard time because I used to celebrate after tries and you say, that's not on, it was bad.
Too flashy.
Too flashy
Yeah.
and this and that. And then he signs me for St George, so...
Well, Martin's obviously proven himself over the past 4 or 5 seasons of playing rugby league as a sensational try scorer, and we think it's good business for him to come and play for us.
Round the back, beautiful hands of fire to the corner. Does he get another one? He got it down. He can really finish this man.
I only had a short career in Australia. I think I had 1/2 season playing for East, 1/2 season playing for St George.
Fire's inside, good night. Martin Offiah will go and join them in row A.
And then when I went back to East in '93, I only played 1 game because I was playing against Penrith and dislocated my shoulder.
But round 9 witnessed a disastrous return to the Winfield Cup by fragile Englishman Martin Offiah. He lasted just 55 minutes with the Roosters.
But still, to this day, you know, Australian fans come up to me and talk about the times that I played there. You'd think I'd played there.
We love you still. You made such an impact.
It's crazy, I know.